Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Aha. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, I wasn't going to go live, but I thought, well, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I certainly won't go live. And I'm not sure about my Friday. So I said, well, I better go live tonight, especially with all the action that happened upstate New York near the Canada border. Well, thank goodness that things had simmered down with that. We're going to talk about that, however. But my thumbnail, if you notice, it says, fear not. We always say that every night, fear not. Be prepared. Give thanks. Right? Let me see. Hi, SM. How are you doing? The cat. From parts unknown. That's right. Hi, Joan. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Quilt, how you doing? Happy Two Bears. Debbie King, how you doing? Sherry, Karen. Yes, please hit the like button. Sin. Hi, Donna. How are you doing? Andrew. Well, let's see. Lone Wolf, how you doing? Henri. Make sure I didn't miss anybody, because my chats jumped. I was looking at Donna's name, and then they jumped on me. So anyway, a lot of people were on the edge of the seats. I tell you, Fox News, as far as I know, they're the first ones to put out this business. There it is. CJ, how you doing? Marla. They were first ones to put out this business. Oh, it was confirmed to be explosives and all this kind of stuff. Then they walked it back, said authorities have adjusted their account or whatever of walking back and all. Well, whoever that person was that put out that bit of so-called news to Fox News, they ought to call them out in a carpet. This country's been sitting on the edge. Hochul or whatever her name is, she said since the 7th. Well, we've been sitting on the edge a lot longer than that. Anybody with a brain in their head? Hi, Kim. How are you? Michael, Andrew, Georgia. How you doing? Cheryl. Ha ha ha. Nice to see y'all. So anyway, a bit of good news before we talk about anything bad. What was that young man's name they wanted to put back in jail? He was the only defendant in Georgia that had to sit in the Hoosgow. His last name is Harrison. His first name is Harrison. Harrison Floyd. He was the young guy that sat in jail in Georgia because he couldn't get his bail money together. And he was the only black defendant. And, well, they wanted to throw him back in the joint. He tweeted a few things. I mean, it's like, you're stomping on my foot and I go, ow. They say, hey, quit complaining. We'll throw you in jail. What's he supposed to do? So anyway, Fannie lost her bid to have him incarcerated. So that's some good news, especially since he says, I don't have a lot. I can't afford attorneys, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and coming up with, what was it, 10% of, I guess 10% of 100,000 was 10,000, or it might have been 50,000. He had to come up with $5,000 cash. Who's walking around with $5,000 cash? So he sat in the joint for a bit until they got him out. So then they tried to put him back in. So, ha ha, Fannie. And I hope that got a lot of press. And you look like more like an idiot every day. And the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that some of these people are like Fannie Willis, are timing their cases to basically put this system on trial, not Trump, not Rudy Giuliani, and the 12 other people. I think it's 14 altogether that are since Sidney Powell and Jen Ellis got benched. And they're going to come back out. We're going to hear from them. So I think I've described it in past that it's going to be an American story being told. This is going to be a drama that is going to be put out before the people. In the last 6 months, there have been millions and millions of people going, system really is rotten, that who wouldn't have thought anything of it without these charges, without these arrests, without these gag orders, and the game being played out right in front of America. Oh, let me get my chats unfroze. So anyway, I said give thanks in my thumbnail because we got to look at things as cup half full instead of looking at a cup saying, oh, my cup is halfway empty. You know, when you're thirsty and you see half a cup of water, you're thankful. And that is the mentality, a base mentality that we should cultivate in ourselves, is to count our blessings instead of pining over what has not been done. Focus on what has been done. A level of exposure and questions being asked people never thought would need to be asked. And it is the anniversary, 60th year anniversary of the ultimate stolen election, was when they assassinated JFK. So they tried it with Reagan. They did it with JFK. At least in this scenario, yeah, they stole the election, but Trump is coming back, and he's coming back with retribution in mind. He's got a clear view of the chessboard. He knows who's loyal and who's not. He knows who's involved, from foreign powers, top level government people, all the way down to the mules, top to bottom. That wouldn't have been the case if Pence had done what all of us really wanted. There would have been a disaster, with all the people feeling that Trump was a tyrant and that we were RADI, okay, CALS. I get in trouble for that word. So people have forgotten about JFK. they've really even forgotten about 9/11. But we're going to see all that stuff get brought to the fore. We can't dump it out all at once. And this is exactly the way it needs to be done. Everything could be a little better in life. Nothing's perfect and nobody's perfect, and nothing is guaranteed. Mr. Trump, President Trump, being back in the Oval Office with all that we know, all the what we consider to be inside knowledge, all that aside, that's not guaranteed. Anything from God could decide to take him in his sleep, God forbid, to an awful notion like them doing something horrific to a town, that has to be kept in mind. Or maybe part of the scenario where Trump passes the baton for the sake of unity to somebody who's been vetted and will follow through. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I'm just saying prepare your minds for it to be a different result than you expect. Expect the unexpected, except for one thing, like the thumbnail I put up last night. End to our constitutional republic? ? No way. We're not going to lose this republic, because if America falls, the world falls. And I know America will come out of this stronger, smarter. But I'm not going to say 100% that it's going to be Mr. Trump, President Trump. I 99%, but I am ready for that 1%, because no one can predict what can happen. As we know, the old sayings usually hold true. The Lord works in mysterious ways, right? Yeah, I remember all that stuff. Bobcat, how you doing? I think this New World Order notion and all that stuff started with the assassination of Lincoln and the subsequent first impeachment of his vice president, Andrew Johnson. Because after Lincoln, after Johnson, you got Grant, and they hoodooed him, and he admitted it. He liked his whiskey. He was a soldier, graduate of West Point, out in the field, riding a horse, staying in tents during the Civil War. He was a soldier, and he got in the White House, had everybody grabbing at his ear, pushing. Then next thing you know, you get the Act of 1871 after the Andrew Johnson administration. So, but anyway, we know that Kennedy was on to him. Kennedy was on to him for people new in the chats, or people who might be just coming by my channel for the first time. Kennedy gave his speech where he said he would break the C.I.A. into 1,000 pieces and spread it to the wind. He talked about the dangers of secret societies, and he talked about infiltration of a nation from within, infiltration, not invasion. And it was literally a short number of days after that speech. And he also issued money from the Treasury that were United States notes and was getting away from the Federal Reserve, backing money with silver. And all that rubbed the powers that be, that should not be, the wrong way. Benjamin Franklin, that's going way back there to the founding. Benjamin Franklin stayed in France for a year. He was an ambassador for France. Yeah, Randy, the Niagara Falls, the Rainbow Bridge. I first saw that. I watched a video. I shared it around with a couple of friends. Yes, Nikki said, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Ha, ha, ha. But anyway, it was an eyewitness account. There's a guy walking with his wife. And he said the car was flying. He said it twice. It had to be doing 100 miles an hour. And there was a car in front of him. He went to go around the car. He said he hit the fence. But if you look at the pictures from the security cameras, what he meant was the guardrail. And he went down in a ditch. You look at the two photos they always show. The car's down in a ditch, and it launches up over a fence and then whops right into a toll booth that's got, built like a brick, you-know-what house. A big support that, you could knock out with a tank. But anyway, that car hit it at a very high rate of speed. And I thought, well, before everything came out, I said, well, if this was a terrorist attack, and I got people who can vouch for me, this is what I said. First of all, pick a better vehicle. You get a Ford Astrovan for peanuts. You get a Dodge Caravan or something. The guy described it as either a Chrysler 300 or a Bentley before I saw pictures of it. I thought, my God. And I thought it was maybe some kids with too much money and too much car. How many times you've seen that in life? And not enough brains in their head. Too much money, too much car, no brains. And I saw a picture of the car when it was airborne. It looked like something somebody took out of the junkyard. Different colored doors. And Kathy Hochul gave her press conference after people put out videos, terrorist attack, bombs at the border crossings, Fox News report. I got a picture of my phone. Confirmed. Sources confirm. Hi, Garrett. How you doing? 13 BLT. How you doing? Christina, how are you? Doc Honeycutt, how are you doing? Yeah, sources confirm. Yeah, original postmaster was Ben Franklin. That's right, Bob. And boy, have they turned on us. The post office is more of a human tracking. Never mind trafficking, they track you. Just like any other bureaucratic institution, they want to know, stick their nose in people's business. You got to have a mailbox out. I don't want a damn mailbox. How's that sound? Well, you need to buy it and you need to put it here. I don't need nothing. How about that? Boy, they look at you like you're from Mars. I guess when everybody's born, they're assigned a mailman, an accountant for their taxes, a doctor who can, over a course of 36 months, charge you millions of dollars. You need a code enforcement officer. I want to do a cartoon of people heading out in covered wagons, heading west in covered wagons, and somebody walking up and saying, "I'm sorry, y'all don't have a permit. We got to inspect your wagon." Yeah, I thought about that too, Randy. I messaged somebody about that. I said, could have been somebody that way, or a dopey kid with a car they shouldn't have. So anyway, back on the subject. They put out all this stuff. Everybody gets all these videos out about a terror attack, and and rightfully so. People get upset and nervous, wondering what's next. It's the anniversary of JFK. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. The news reports are that it's a horrible attack. But my instinct, my thoughts when I heard the eyewitness, when I saw the pictures, that was, for some reason, somebody went cuckoo and drove like a nut and ended up wrecking their vehicle. Now, if you look at the pictures of that car going down, it's down in the ditch. And in the next picture they show it's airborne. You know how many test runs they have to do a stunt like that? I mean, that was not planned. That was not somebody that said, "I'm going to drive down in that gully and then pop up out of that gully, go over the fence and hit the toll booth or the inspection booth at the border." There's no way. It's like I had remembered where years ago I came out of a restroom at an Exxon, and just as I came out, somebody ran a red light, went across the road sideways, and they were doing about 60, and their car bebop bounced, blammed all the way through a cow field. I don't. If I had a camera set up and videotaped it, I'd have got 10 million views. It was unbelievable. It was just like these people were saying. It was like a movie. And there was crap everywhere flying out of that car. She had her windows open. And she didn't get hurt. And how that happened, I'm glad. But how that happened, I don't know. But I remember her out in that field. She was a blonde-haired girl. It looked like straw sticking out of her head instead of hair. And she was looking at her car, had her hands on the side of her head, going, "Oh!" And that wasn't even with a gas tank blowing up. That was just a high-speed wreck. And unfortunately, many of us have seen high-speed wrecks, but I've walked them, I've checked them, I've measured skid marks. You can walk for 200 feet along an interstate after an accident. More than that, it depends on how many vehicles were involved, and you'll find all kinds of stuff. She was saying, we have a huge, Kathy Hochul, we have a huge debris field. what do you expect? 100 miles an hour whopping into solid concrete? And you know what? That vehicle, the bean can you buy a can of beans, you got more structural support in that can of beans than that car has on its outer pieces and parts. Most of the damn thing's plastic. And you count a glove box flying open. Well, with this one I was talking about where the car went through the field, you had clothes out there, you had pieces of paper, you had CDs, you had everything flew out of that car. And that was just one vehicle. And much less, like I said, a couple of vehicles on the interstate being in an accident. But this thing here came to a dead stop. Remember I told a story about that airplane crash where it hit a tree. And one engine was 300 feet away from the plane, got thrown 300 feet. And the other engine, the prop wrapped around the tree. It just came to a dead stop. And I won't tell you about the inhabitants, but it ain't pretty. You go 100 miles an hour, think Dale Earnhardt. 100 miles an hour to a dead stop. And the stuff inside your skull doesn't want to stay in your skull, if you get my point. And that's what happened with Dale Earnhardt. So, yeah. Let me see. I'll tell you something about gasoline in a minute. I'll just check the chats real quick. Yeah, it was in that video. Well, Kathy Hochul does this press conference, and all the dramatic talk about the debris field, about how brave everybody was that responded, and how everybody's been a heightened alert since October 7th. What do we got to do with being a heightened alert with something halfway around the world? And anyway, so all that, and at the end of it, no signs of it being connected to any terrorism. It was a local person who got in a very bad accident. A local person who got in a very bad accident. So anyway, they get a chance to make it where they can lock people down, where some government, quote, official puts out propaganda or scare tactics that it was a purposeful attack. They'll do it. They'll do it. But this one got short-circuited. And, but I tell you, one time I had a friend of mine, we had what's called a stump dump. You know, you got a piece of property and you got a swale or a hole in the ground, and you just, I mean, a big swale or hole. And if you're doing construction, you could throw stumps down in there, branches, all kinds of junk. And, you know, after a year or two, you set it at a light, you know. It's nothing but stumps and junk, and you burn it up. And I had a friend, my friend said, "Hey, we got to burn that stump dump down." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." So I went in. I had a gas can that I had sitting for a long time, and I said, "I'll just use this because I know it's, you know, sour. It's got water in it and everything else." So I might add a little over 3 gallons, between 3 and 4 gallons. Hi, Richard. How you doing? And I went out there, Mr. Brilliant. Now I'm talking a big area, probably say 100 feet by 100 feet. And I just started sloshing gas, you know, while I was walking around over top all this stumps. And my I was in a hurry and it was cold and it was windy, and I said, man, I got to get out of here. So I said, well, I'll just trickle a trail, about 30, 40 feet away and throw a match down on it. And I'm thinking in my brain, not quite like Mission Impossible, dun dun dun, and it, I wasn't thinking that, but I didn't expect it to be nearly as fast as it took. It wasn't a Mission Impossible fuse at all. It was instantaneous. I threw that match down, and that flame went 40, 50 feet maybe, and hit the main area where I poured that lousy 3 or 4 gallons. And I'm telling you, it looked like an atom bomb went off. And I, had half my eyebrows, and I stumbled all up to the car and said, Jiminy crickets. And I looked this big fireball go up. And I'm telling you, it was not a lot of gas. So that big story, just to explain that a vehicle hits something very solid at 100 miles an hour, and a gas tank erupts, you're going to have a big ball of flame. That car probably had a typical, that would have probably 15-gallon, 16-gallon tank. That's a lot of gas. And if I had 4 gallons and lost my eyebrows 50 feet away, or half my eyebrows, what do you think is going to happen with 15, 16 gallons? So, people that don't do things like that, burn stump dumps or go to plane crashes and car wrecks or see car wrecks, they see something like this, they go, wow, it's got to be something bad, but hey, not really. It was bad, of course, for the occupant. And I knew it wasn't explosives also when I found out. They said there was 2 casualties. Well, that got changed. And right away when I heard 2 casualties, I said, well, as looking at that toll booth, and probably the person in the toll booth and the driver. So that told me right there was a single person in a vehicle. Well, I found out casualty meant injury and somebody expiring. So it was a person in the booth, which was mostly glass. And they were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. That was according to Kathy Hochul. So that tells you right there wasn't an explosive blast. It was a fireball. So anyway, I know I went into quite a bit about that, but the point is that everybody was very afraid. Not everybody, but a lot of people were, I'll use the word terrified. And we know what the short of that is. And we would know what, people try to commit acts of terror to scare people. We're going to be seeing that. There's no way we're going to avoid that with what has been allowed to get into this country over the last 3 years, especially with the hard feelings we're getting from people who have dangerous belief systems. Something's going to happen, so be prepared. And, I've said in the past, even in good times, good political times, people should be prepared to be stuck at home for a couple of weeks without power. Have the things necessary to safely go through at least 2 weeks if you find yourself in a situation where you can't get around, you have to stay home, and you don't have power. Because way back in our foggy memories of our grandparents, a lot of people didn't have power. Even up until the 60s and 70s, a lot of rural areas didn't have indoor plumbing or power. Called Appalachia for one. Excuse me while I have a sip of my coffee. I muted my mic that time. My mic didn't want to unmute, but anyway, I mute my mic now when I guzzle my coffee. But anyway, so and prior to the 50s, 40s, 1930s, the entire civilization on the face of this earth didn't have electricity. And very few people had indoor bathrooms. They had Johnny houses. I'm not saying, have a bathtub full of water. If a storm is coming, I keep about over a dozen. You rinse out some milk jugs, you rinse them out real good, fill them full of water, put them away, and you got water. You can make your coffee. You got a little propane stove. You can boil your water, make you some coffee, have some instant coffee on hand. People say, I don't like instant coffee. Well, after about a week of no coffee, instant coffee is delicious. But, if you don't have electricity, you run your Mr. Coffee, your percolated coffee, or you don't like the grounds, it takes to use the old-timey percolator coffees, pots. Instant coffee's fine. So, just to get you through. Well, I've got to get these chats moving. I'm still stuck. Richard said 100 mile per hour. You can't argue with physics. That's right. Yeah, Donna. Well, if you live in a small town, everybody knows where you are anyway. Cheryl said means the fall of the rainbows. Well, see, that's the thing, if everything that happens in life, if you feel like you have to search for that there's something nefarious going on or something to be scared of or something to a signal, well, sometimes remember the old saying, SH, and that's it. Happens. There are no coincidences. Yes, that's true. But sometimes, excuse me for the sensitive, but sometimes shit happens. I think this person was obviously in some matter of mental distress, right? And he was going toward the border and he was flying. Kathy Hochul said there was no license plates on the car. Of course. She said, of course, there's no license plates. What do you mean, of course? How would they, people ride around without license plates? They get nailed quick. So he probably had one on the back. I'll have to look at the photos, see if there was one on the front. But I mean, we just got to take life as it comes and not get ourselves upset. I've talked in the past about cortisol, a stress hormone. If you keep yourself in a constant state of distress, and that's why I say it's important to look at the glass half full instead of half empty. If you have a half empty glass personality, you will be angry or upset most of the time, and your body will be releasing cortisol, a very corrosive hormone. It's a hormone. You need it for your fight or flight. You're going out to the garden and a bear pops out from behind a tree. You go, cortisol shot gives you the energy to turn around and get your butt back in the house. But you can't have that pumping into your body all the time. See what I'm saying? Painting all the hydrants, that's somebody in the local government budget. They got too much of the people's money and they pander to these groups. Yellow on blue for some reason. That is Ukraine. Hi, Randy. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, they right away major news services, and I'm not kidding. My thought when I checked it out with the interview of a witness was that this was a very bad car accident, someone in mental distress. Whoa. Oh, there we go. My chat's jumped all the way down here. Yeah, they're gonna try to scare people any chance they get. Whoa. So, but we know, IMS Motorsports, we know there's going to be disruptions of the internet for sure. Just be mentally prepared for it so you don't get unnecessary cortisol injections. You're injecting yourself by accident by triggering the fight or flight. Hi, single songwriter. How you doing? Laughter saves the world. That's right. So anyway, now we've got. I was watching these TikTok videos. People were posting saying, "Can you believe this?" And one of them, this girl's got a BLM mask on, saying, "Don't celebrate Christmas. I mean, don't celebrate Thanksgiving." Excuse me, I haven't noticed my coffee. Because, don't you know, that's a symbol of oppression and all this crap. This takes me back to where I was talking about movies some of these people need to watch. Now, help me out. For some reason, the name of this movie gets me. Gosh, I've said it 1,000 times. It's a Mel Gibson movie about the Aztecs. The Aztecs. Help me out, folks. I think it should be required. I got a notification from YouTube. What the world? It should be required. What's the name of that movie, folks? Apocalypto. Apocalypto. That should be required for kids to watch that in high school. what this hemisphere was like pre, well, quote, colonization. I call it exploration. Okay, it wasn't. Yeah, Ian got it, and single songwriter got it. And you know the story behind there. Taking them up to the top of the temple with the sun god and removing their hearts, right, and throwing them right down the steps. And as Cortez and his men, and the documented it, thousands of them. So yeah, that instead of, what do they have required for kids to watch that started all this garbage? The Earth Has a Fever. Al Gore made millions of dollars through the school systems, compulsory, making them watch that propaganda movie about the climate change hoax. Well, your kids are sitting in class watching, having that garbage pumped in their head, scaring them that the world's going to come to an end. The Earth has a fever. Everybody's going to, cities are going to go underwater. A bunch of garbage. No, have them watch Apocalypto. Gone with the Wind, Apocalypto, Dr. Zhivago. What happens when the Bolsheviks take over your society? You end up with a bunch of riffraffs and who knows what living in your home. It's no longer your home. And Ashanti, about the slave trade, modern day slave trade. That's my what I would make required watching. Those movies I just mentioned. So anyway, I saw somebody doing an interview and they said, well, how is Trump going to remove all the illegals? And they're all, of course, they're trying to paint a picture that Trump is a dictator. He's horrible. He's going to destroy lives. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Somebody posted, hey, it was Roger Stone. He was in an interview. He said, hey, Eisenhower did it. Eisenhower deported them by the millions in the late 50s, 1950s, Operation Wetback. And not only that, but you all have seen articles, and I got a couple on my phone I was going to put up, where some people are voluntarily leaving because the milk and honey is not there the way they expected. And okay, so they're turning around going home. Well, there's a certain group of people that the Democrats don't want in this country, namely the type of immigrants we would want, people with skills, educated, willing to work. They're not going to, I guarantee you there's a way they're identifying them, whether or not a person would automatically vote for Marxism versus ones who are trying to get away from Marxism. And the latter group will not get the government cheese. They're going to be frustrated, and they're the ones that are leaving. The ones that are staying are getting preferential treatment. If they fit a certain profile, they're going to get what Trump called the gravy. They're coming for the gravy. So that's called self-deportation. Last time I heard that brought up was Romney, but that's neither here nor there. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You cut off the gravy, okay? That's one way. and it will be self-deportation. You tell them, hey, dad's getting deported. Well, we had 2 kids while I was here. They're citizens. You can't deport them. Well, this is where the liberals say you'll be breaking up families. Well, hey, bottom line here, you came here, you were illegal. The true rules of engagement, I'll say, as far as immigration law, is that just because you're born here does not mean you're a citizen. If your parents are here illegally, you are not a citizen. That came about through bureaucratic games during the Johnson administration after Kennedy got assassinated. They started doing that crap. And it was illegal then, and nobody's done anything about it. So anyways, would just say, well, hey, you could stay, but daddy's got to go home, or mommy got to go. Somebody, yeah. We're not breaking up your family. You're breaking it up. All of you go together, but somebody's got to go. So you cut off the gravy. You cut off the cancel these work visas, cancel these college programs that we end up paying for anyway with this loan debt forgiveness and crap like that. Put a stop to all that. And then the stubborn ones, yeah, you find them, you put them on a bus and out of here. You round them up. But millions of them will leave of their own accord when you cut off the gravy. That's right, single songwriter. I'm sure they are recycling Social Security numbers, but all that can be found out. But anyway, folks, I'll get back to this one topic I wanted to talk about tonight because I figured I'd go live, and I was talking about the half full, half empty stuff and giving thanks. When people think that they ought to have something, that they deserve something, whether it's a kid who gets $20 a week allowance, whether he does the dishes or not, every week, $20. They're not thankful. You can take that example just about to any example in life. Even about life itself. When you do without, as I was talking about electricity, for example, when you get it back or you experience it, you're thankful. But if it's always there, people take things for granted. And I believe that's what happened with our country to a large degree. Glass half empty, okay? They don't believe in miracles because they're living a miracle and they think they deserve it. They think that's the way it ought to be, should be. They have no idea the squalor so many people around the world live in and how thankful they would be to live in this country. And look how close we came to letting it go. to squandering it. It even gets down, if from a biblical perspective, God doesn't owe us a life. We're only here because he wants us here. We're not doing him any favors. It's the other way around. But the entitlement crowd, and to some degree, most people have some level of entitlement. Very few people look at the day as a bonus, grateful to have another day. I learned a long time ago to quit saying, I hate Mondays. I don't care what day it is. I'm glad. I'm thankful. The old song, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And you know what? I think the lack of thankfulness leads us right back to the beginning. Original sin. Everybody might roll their eyes and say, oh, it's corny or whatever. But Adam and Eve, they took what they had for granted and wanted more. Instead of being thankful for what a life of leisure, everything they wanted, heaven on earth, a Garden of Eden. They never did without that. So they didn't understand what it was to do without it. So they didn't have a true appreciation of it. As a matter of fact, they had all that and they wanted more. They wanted more. What did the serpent say? Take a bite out of this and you'll have more. You'll have more knowledge. You'll have something God has, he doesn't want you to have. So yeah, they were ingrates. And after they did what they did, they had to scratch a living out of the ground. They had to give birth in pain. All because of not appreciating what they had and expecting more. Instead of preserving what they had and being appreciative. I was on the phone today with a young man, and I had watched that video about, don't celebrate Thanksgiving because it's a racist this and that. Giving thanks is racist. And I'm used to, during the holidays, I say, are you ready for Turkey Day or ready for the big day tomorrow? And so I just kind of said that. And then right after I said it, oh man, this, they sounded of an age group. I don't know who I'm talking to. Am I going to hear something like, something negative, who somebody brought into this colonialism crapola? But no, it turned out to be a very nice young man. He said, I'm getting ready to go see my folks. I'm really excited. And it just popped out of my mouth. I said, well, love them while you got them. He said, excuse me? I said, love them while you got them. Your parents. He's typing away and he goes, I never thought of it that way. I said, neither did I. I said, but once they're gone, you you wish you'd have said one more time that you love them. I could hear him typing. I said, you wish to yourself that when you hugged them a little harder. He said, I never thought of that. He said, I appreciate you putting it that way. He said, my parents live about 3 hours away. I said, well, you be careful driving. And I said, when you go to dinner, I said, I don't want to put a damper on anything. I said, but I can tell you from experience. Remember, that table, what you've done ever since you were a child, over and over, year after year after year, someday it'll come to an end. That's the way of life. That's our lives. So I said, you make sure you tell them you love them and you hug them a little bit tighter. And he got a little teary-eyed as we finished up. He said, I certainly will. And he said, God bless you, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I said, you too, young man. So I hope his parents have a special feeling and a good time tomorrow with their son. We've all been there, folks. That table, that big table, and the family gatherings are gone, and all you have is a close your eye memory. So it all goes back to thankfulness. Being thankful while you have your loved ones and your parents, and you live in the country you live in, as compared to the rest of the world. And as a society, we have to focus on the concept of being thankful. With this most dangerous thing that young people are being confronted with right now, you know what I'm talking about, is the identity movement. Instead of being thankful, the parents, instead of them being thankful that they have a child who is born healthy, everything's there, everything works, and being so thankful, they want more, or they want to challenge and defy God. And their decisions destroy their child's lives. That kind of arrogance, that kind of turning their back on God, that kind of entitlement, as Richard put in, it leads to suffering. So I know I don't want to be morbid for Thanksgiving, but that's what it is all about, is taking time to be thankful, not to overeat. I mean, that's a good bonus. But we got a society that is cup half empty. Demanders and expectors. They expect and they demand, and they don't appreciate the wonder of life itself and where they are in this world in this time. I mentioned that less than 100 years ago, nobody, just the upper percentages or big cities had electricity. Air conditioning, forget it. No such thing. Most people didn't have cars, they still rode horses. And from there backwards, thousands of years, that's the way everybody's had it. Here we are at this point in time. And the generations have gotten to the point where they think it's always been this way. I mean, I know people that if their air conditioner breaks, they have a nervous breakdown. I'm like, man, I very rarely use air conditioning, very rarely. Ever have I used it in my life? But people think it's always this way. But we're getting a little too tied in, I don't know, maybe 10 days of these plastic toys that we hold in our hands and internet, instant gratification and information. Maybe a 10-day break from that might be a good thing. I don't know, but expect it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but expect it and be prepared for it and have a calm mind. Have a calm mind, because even if what happened up north, I'll say, Niagara, even if it was a terrorist attack, getting flustered or distressed or excited and calling other people and getting them excited, it does not change things. A calm mind. I remember 9/11, I talked to a lot of people on the phone, and it was all over with. They said, you were level-headed. You were like another day at the office. And that's what I exuded. That's what I was concerned. I was horrified at what happened to our fellow Americans. I was concerned for our future. But I didn't get hysterical, because you can't function. If you have to do something, if you have to make a decision, if you have to operate a vehicle, and you got yourself in a high state of distress and distraction, you could end up launching up in the air over a fence and right into a border crossing. Think I'm kidding? So there, my screen unfroze. Man, that screen was frozen. Now here's everybody. Everybody's saying good day. Good night, good day. All right, folks. My screen was frozen at 55 minutes. So anyway, folks, expect the unexpected, folks. You know it's coming, and we've been through a lot, and we're going to go through more, and we got to have our heads on right and keep our chins up. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and really appreciate everything that you have, the company, the fellowship, the good food, and look around, say, how can I make my life get through 2 weeks without a phone, without power, and be just fine? How's that for an assignment? Because you can do it. You can do it. And when something distressing does happen, it will take the bite out of it. It'll take the bite out of it. You'll be thinking much more clearly, and you're going to be telling our American story in the future. The best is yet to come, folks. So you all have a great evening. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I'll be seeing you soon. Of course, I won't be broadcasting them tomorrow unless something really crazy happens, because we're going to stick together, right? We're going to stick together. And we're going to walk through history together. So, barring anything big happening, I don't know when I go live again, but please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. And I'll be talking to you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.